How's it going, guys? So, in this video, I'm basically going to be telling y'all like a story of how I became a Scream fan and how I like why it's so fascinating, why I'm fascinated by it. And this going to be telling like a story, a little story about like how I became like a fan of the movie. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, first things first, obviously, it started like this. I was a little kid, right? And I think I had a friend. If I remember correctly, I think I had a friend that had the box set. And I got the box set and I borrowed it. And I think I watched, believe it or not, I actually watched Scream 3 like first. Scream 3 was like my first like Scream movie that I watched. Um, Before the other ones. And I was just so fascinated by the movies, especially the third movie. As you guys know, the third movie is like my second favorite, behind 1996. But anyways, so that's how it basically started. So I had like a friend or something a long time ago that had the box set, that had the old school, box set with, the VCRs, the tapes and all that, like back in those days, like when it was like tapes before CDs and all that. Like I had borrowed that from a friend, I believe, and I watched the third Scream movie. I vividly remember when I was a little kid. I remember like watching it and liking it because of the whodunit factor, and then it made me want to go watch the other two, like the first one and then the second one. So obviously the first one I didn't watch that until like later in life, but I ended up watching the first one, like the 1996 film, like later, like when I was like in middle school or so, I believe. Um, but I had a lot of great memories, man. This movie, I'm so fascinated by it. I have a lot of friends, or I had a friend that liked it too, so that's obviously why the person had my friend had the box set that I borrowed it, and like I said, that's how I really got into the movies. Scream 3 is like the first one that I ever watched, and then I watched the other two later on, like after, and I was like, man, I'm just so fascinated by this. You know what I mean? Like that, like the first Scream movie, especially like Drew Barrymore and all that. That scene right there was just the opening scene. It was just like it was pretty scary to say the least. That's all I have to say. Um, when I first watched it, anyways, because like I said, I didn't watch it until like later, because I watched Scream 3 first, and then I watched the other two like later on, like um, after Scream 3, um, and I was just fascinated by it, from there, man. Like I was just fascinated by it, the franchise. I was fascinated by the style of the movie, the whodunit factor, and basically that's how I basically got into the movies. Like how I became like a fan of the movies because of that. Because Scream 3 actually got me started on that, like funny, like weirdly enough, like I said, and you would think that the first Scream would, but I wasn't even born. To be honest with you guys, I was not even born. I wasn't born when the first Scream movie came out. I wasn't born when the second one came out, but I was when the third one came out. So that's why the third movie was basically like the first one that I watched, because obviously the other, I knew there was, I know there was the number one and part, number two, you know, obviously I knew that, because obviously, the third movie, Because at that time there was three movies, obviously, because that was before. That was like in 2000, I believe. That's when Scream 3 came out. So I was only like, what, like 2 years old, I believe. 3 years old at the most. Um, when that movie came out. And yeah, I wasn't even born when the first one or the second one came out. But that's basically my story of how I became like a Scream fan. I don't know if you guys like have heard that. I've told the story a while back ago. I don't know if you guys remember, but I said that I had the Scream box sets, or I borrowed it from a friend or whatever. I don't know if you guys remember me telling you guys that a while back, but I just kind of wanted to, tell the story again, just kind of explain, you know, story a little bit, because this franchise is very fascinating. I like it. It's my passion, and um, yeah, man. That without this movie, I probably wouldn't like slashers, honestly. Because this is, you know, in my eyes, this is the greatest slasher that there ever that there was and that there is. You know what I mean? Scream. That's the whodunit factor. That's what makes it so unique. So, with that being said, guys, comment down below. Give your guys' thoughts about my story, about how I became like a Scream fan and all that, fan of the franchise. Want to hear from you guys in the comments. With that being said, see you guys on the next one. Peace.